Welcome to episode 124 of the QuickTime Event Podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and I am joined by my partner in crime, John.
Oh.
You just got cut off. All it said was, oh. You sounded so surprised. Oh.
And well, would you look? Oh, who do we have
what
here?
A surprising thing to have happen, because we have our first ever guest on the podcast this evening. Please welcome from twitch.tv, Mr. CeeCee23.
Hello. Also known as Chase, but CeeCee23 also works. Good to be here.
QuickTime Event is a chance for us to get together each and every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that you love and we love. If you like what you hear, you can find us live on twitch.tv/CDRMagnus every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or on all of your favorite podcast services, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more shortly after the live show ends. So we brought Chase on this week to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 because he has played it. I have not played it yet. I am planning on playing it on my PC for sure. We'll get into all of that here in depth in a little bit. But before we do that, John, let's start with you. What have you been doing?
A lot of Christmas prep. You can see my little festive stockpile, the horde building behind me. God, every year I forget how bad I am at wrapping Christmas gifts. Is anybody here good at wrapping Christmas gifts? Because it feels like only basically moms are good at wrapping Christmas gifts.
No, I am not. I'm garbage at it. I think that every year I pretty much just I unravel way too much paper. First of all, for like the present I'm wrapping, I unravel way too much.
I've gotten better at that. I've gotten way better at figuring out how much I actually need, so there's not crazy excess.
I drop whatever I'm trying to wrap right in the middle of the paper and then try to like fold over it, and it never works. Ever. Never works.
Okay. It feels like
I buy the present and give it directly to my wife, and that's my dynamic right there.
Same.
Okay.
Janet's real good at it. She's she's got like the skills. I don't have that at all.
Like I'm halfway. Like I'm better than I think most, but nowhere near the level of like wrapping whenever I would get a gift when I was growing up. Like that was just perfect. It seemed robotic, and I just cannot mimic that or figure out how to do it. But yeah, lots of Christmas prep. I think, I don't know if I had beaten it by that point, but I 100% complete Age of Calamity, so that's done. That was a good time. 70 hours well spent. And I finally got to the end of the arc that I was in on One Piece and past episode 200. So I'm officially in I believe it's the Water 7 arc at episode 209, I think is the next one I'm on.
What's it been, a month?
I don't know.
Since
I started?
Yeah. How many on average do you watch a day?
Not enough.
Yeah, never enough. I would say my average per day is 3. I'll usually, if I watch it, I'll watch 3 episodes a day.
That's fair.
Although towards the start, I was watching more like 6 a day.
And that's not one you're watching while exercising. That's one you're...
No, I do. Since there's just so much of it, I'm watching it just all the time.
It's become your everything anime.
It's become my everything, yes.
Now here's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
One day you're going to finish One Piece.
Yeah, I know.
What are you going to do when that happens?
I could die before then.
I guess that's true.
Easily.
I feel like when you watch something that's 1,200 episodes long or whatever the fuck One Piece is, it's like you're going to get... Maybe not Stockholm Syndrome's not maybe the right word, because it's not like you're being tortured watching One Piece. It's like it's an enjoyable thing. But
this is a choice that I made.
Sure, but once you're done with it, are you going to feel empty inside? Is it going to be like, well, what the hell do I do with my life now?
I don't think so, because Oda has come out and said that he thinks that there's 5 more years of content. So like, I don't think it's going to take me 5 years to get caught up, at least at the pace that I'm going. So it's going to help wean me off of it. Because like there's once I get caught up on this giant 1,000-long episode series,
I guess
it
you'll still
won't
have
be
something to
over.
look forward to.
There'll
yeah.
be like just a real small little stream of it for the next 5 years.
That's fair.
Or by the time I'm done, let's say it takes a year for me to wrap it up, for the next 4 years. And I think that's the manga, so who knows how much left in the anime there is.
I'm surprised, honestly, that they're still able to stay in sync. So is the anime...
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Because, like, you look at Full Metal, and Full Metal had to do completely divergent paths.
Yeah.
So what did One Piece do right where they're able to...
I don't know. They
stay
probably
on
just
track?
had way more money, because it's like the seemingly most popular anime like in the world.
That's... Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Checks out.
And it's
'Cause
good.
I mean, and I guess at this point, like, the manga is at, I think they're hitting episode or issue 1,000 soon, like chapter 1,000, and the anime is at like episode 960 something, which, like, when you compare those two numbers, you're like, oh, that's so close. They're just right behind it. But whenever you think about it, that's like 50 episodes. If they do a chapter per
Right, that's
per
the other thing.
episode.
Like, a chapter of a manga isn't like it's... I guess there could be a lot that goes on. So when you say a chapter, are you
I think-
saying a volume like a manga book, or are you talking like
I
a
don't-
chapter in Shonen Jump?
I'm not sure,
I don't know either.
because I don't follow the manga. I just know that they are about to hit
Because
chapter
okay,
1,000.
there can't be 1,000 books.
Volumes. Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
assume not.
No way.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe whatever's in Jump, the chapters might translate to a full-on episode. I mean,
I'm
the-
sure
the
that some
show's-
do.
The
Yeah.
show is wild, so like it would take a while to like animate everything that happens in that ludicrous chapter.
Right. I guess this is something else I just thought about was like, this has to be probably one of the only examples of, and I don't know this for sure because I haven't watched it. Maybe you can talk about it, but I feel like you haven't read the manga, so you probably wouldn't know anyway. But
I did. So, funny story. I did read the manga way back in the day. And by back in the day, I mean, like, it had been coming out for years at that point. But I think it had just started coming out in, like, the West. So I have volumes 1 through, like, 15 of One Piece from when I was a teen. They're just sitting in my closet, and
I would
I
be
don't know
curious
what to
if
do
you
with
go back and read a volume and then you watch the episode or whatever. I'm guessing that this is probably one of the only examples where the television and or movie version is actually longer than the book version, or like more drawn
Probably.
out or more
I would-
flushed out.
I would assume that I could, I could read through the East Blue arc, the first arc of the show, faster than I could watch it. But I mean, that's kind of that's a weird thing that you find with any kind of like visual novel, where if you don't really, you can take as long as you want to read a visual novel, because like most of that is consuming the images. There's never that many words on the page. So if you kind of skip over the images and you just read the text, like, you can burn through those quick.
True.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
So no games. You haven't played anything.
Age of Calamity.
But I thought you finished that before last
Did
week.
I?
I'm pretty sure you did.
I don't remember. I feel like I played something, but now I can't remember what it was.
Well,
We played Persona.
we
We
did.
played Persona 4.
We did.
I don't know if we've talked about that yet, but that's been fun.
Did we? I don't think we
I
did.
don't know, because we did Game Awards last week.
I don't really know how we should talk about it, is the thing, because we're gonna have like, I don't
Go
want to
watch
bring it
it.
up every week on the podcast,
Yeah,
because
no.
it's going to be that way for the next 30 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just go watch it. It's a good time.
What I'd probably want to do is when we finally finish the Let's Play series, then maybe have a whole podcast episode dedicated just to your thoughts and opinions on Persona 4.
Sure.
That's kind of my idea for right now. But yeah, I mean, we're playing Persona 4, so if you want to watch our playthrough, we're doing a full playthrough. That's happening on Twitch on Tuesdays, although it's the holidays right now, so that's all going to kind of get messed up here for the next couple of weeks. But then it's also posted to YouTube that you can go and watch after the fact if you want to do that as well. But if you don't want to play Persona 4, which I don't know why you wouldn't at this point, if you own a PC, really any PC should be able to run that, I would think. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But go play Persona 4 Golden. You have no excuse not to. It's not locked in Vita jail. It's not on Vita Island anymore. You can go and get it on your... I don't know that it plays on Mac, but if you run Linux on Mac, you could probably do it. Just go play Persona 4.
I remember what the other two things that I experienced were, but I can't say much about them because they were both of your streams. I watched one of you play Cyberpunk and one of you play Yakuza. So like, here's to you.
Cheers. Chase, we're going to dive into Cyberpunk very, very deeply here soon.
Yeah.
So let's hold off on any Cyberpunk discussion until then.
So that's pretty much all I've been doing all week. So I'm passing the baton to you, my friend.
All right. I've been trying to just wrap up Yakuza Like a Dragon, and I like the game a lot. The last 4 or 5 chapters are getting to be very grindy. Not so much in the battles. Like, I feel like I'm at an inadequate level. I did actually have to go grind a few chapters ago. I just popped into the little sewer dungeon that there is, and there's this enemy that has like 20 health, but every like hit you land on him only does 1 damage, so you have to basically hit him 20 times to kill him. But then you get like 150,000 experience. It's like, it's not even a hard enemy. It's not like he's doing a ton of damage. I don't know what that's about. But because of that guy, I'm now at adequate level to finish the game. The grindiness is coming in this like arbitrary fundraising that I have to do. Without spoiling,
you have to pay for another kid's surgery.
Worse than that, I have to pay for a campaign. I have to pay for a political campaign. I have to raise 3 million yen to fund a political campaign. And I don't know why that's thing in the game. It's not like yen is that easy to collect. Like, there's a couple mini games that net you quite a bit of yen. There's one where you have to basically run a business and you're like buying and selling properties and managing your employees. It's this whole like little mini game within the game. And if you play that for like 30 minutes, you can get like $250,000 or yen or whatever.
God,
that's like 4 hours of just playing that one thing.
Yeah.
So that is, I don't know why they decided to do that in this chapter, to just arbitrarily make you grind for money. But that's what's happening. So I finally raised it. I'm done with that, but I have not progressed the story since I streamed it last Sunday or so. So I'm close to the end chapter wise. I just hope there's no more of these like roadblocks where I have to just grind out some monotonous task for no reason. But everything I said last week, I don't really have anything else from what I said last week. It's a great game. I like it a lot. Just some of this little monotony stuff is not ideal. So with that, let's move on to the topic of the show, which is Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk, a game that we've been waiting for since 2012 is when it was announced, I think, prior to The Witcher 3 coming out. And you know, they've hyped it up for a long time. And it's not even one of those things where it's like the fans are definitely responsible for hyping the game up, but
yeah,
the way that CDPR has marketed the game, especially for the past 3 or 4 years, has led us to believe, you know, what the game was going to be something completely different than what we got. So let's go first through. There's a lot of stuff to touch on. This is going to be a messy conversation. I'm sure we're going to go in a lot of different directions at once. So let's just start.
Try not to.
It's
going to be awful.
Let's start first at critical consensus and just overall reviews of the game. I linked a link. I posted a link or wrote a link or whatever in the show doc that links to the gamesindustry.biz wrap-up article. I'm actually not going to look at that. I'm just going straight to the Metacritic scores because the industry.biz article does a good job of summarizing everything, but I just want to read out like some of the scores from well-known reputable outlets. Most of them are all 9s for the PC version, because that's what they all got codes for, was the PC version, about a week in advance of the game coming out. And almost all of them gave it somewhere in the 9 range. A few even gave it a 10, though they're pretty like smaller people. IGN Japan gave it a 10. Games Radar gave it a 10. Lots and lots of 9s. The only the lowest one that I saw was from GameSpot. GameSpot gave it a 7 on the PC version.
Woof.
So with the reviews, Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red rather did not give out any console codes, and they also had a stipulation that with reviews, that basically anybody that got review codes could only put out assets that were given to them by CD Projekt Red. Which led a lot of people to be like, that's kind of weird, but okay. So the game drops Thursday. What was the release? When did it come out? CeeCee?
So EST was 7 p.m.
That's so weird. Was it a global release?
For PC, it was a global release, so that's why. Consoles was midnight your time.
Okay. So it comes out. Console players start to play it. I woke up Friday morning to check Reddit. And on Friday morning, from everything I could see, it was just a lot of like funny stuff. Like it's, oh, look at my guy T-posing through the car. Or, hey, look, it's like the world, or like this guy doesn't have a face. He looks like not even like more horrifying than the Ubisoft faceless models from Assassin's Creed Unity that was like back in that game. It's just like, non-textured faces, no features, no eyes, no weird stuff.
It's funny the first time.
Right.
It's really funny the first time. And maybe the second time.
For a while.
Diminishing returns.
But then it starts to come out that you cannot play this game on an Xbox One or a PS4. You can barely play the game on a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. If you play it on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, it's playable. However, crowd density's turned down. It's just not an optimal experience. Plus, there are all of the bugs that are still in it that causes crashes and things like that. There are only a few outlets that have rated the game on consoles. Really, the only big one is IGN gave it a 4, which is bad. That on their scale, a 4 is bad.
That's rough.
A 4 is basically a -8.
Yeah, I mean, IGN for AAA games, IGN really never goes below a 7.
No, never.
I mean, even let's look at Anthem's review score. What did Anthem get from IGN?
10 out of 10. Makes you feel like you're a robot in space.
Okay, well, it's not on there. I don't know what I'm looking at. Anyway, let's just forget it.
Didn't even give it a review score.
Nah, we're good.
Don't play this game. It's fine.
So those are all the critical.
6.5.
6.5. Okay.
6.5. Okay.
Just barely.
And that
under
game
7.
is awful.
That game's bad.
Awful.
Very content bare. Again, not what people wanted, let alone from a studio like BioWare. So that's what all the critical consensus has been. Since then, I'm sure anybody that had any remote interest in the game that didn't pre-order it has seen what they want to see from streams, from YouTube videos, from wherever. However, in this podcast, I have not played the game. I still have an interest in playing the game. John has not played the game. CeeCee, what is your takeaway from your 50 hours or so? How are you going to rate this game? Maybe not on a 1 to 10 scale, just like give us your feelings and thoughts on what we have here.
Or your number if you have, if you thought about it already.
So my experience is coming from a PC that I built this year for Cyberpunk.
That's an important thing to note. So what's your CPU?
Right.
What's your GPU? All that stuff.
I have a 2080 Super. I have a Ryzen 9 990. and I turned off ray tracing. Like, that should tell you how the game runs on my computer. I mean, and it's not even I kind of want to get like 30 frames, so I'm going to leave ray tracing on. No, I'm going to turn off ray tracing. Like, you have no choice. And from a technical standpoint, I'm disappointed. I'm just disappointed. Night City Night City is amazing. It doesn't look as good as it could, but it's amazing. Like, they made the best city in a video game of all time. Like, there's no doubt. There's no question. Did they make a video game? No. They barely made a video game. They made an experience. They made a Night City experience. The writing is decent to good. The 5 to 10 main characters in the game are phenomenal. All the other writing is just, decent to good. And all of the other gameplay mechanics that they focused on are half-baked. It's like they were so concentrated on the city itself that they forgot the game part of it. And my favorite example to go to is the crafting. So I spec'd my character for an intelligent crafter. So my guy is all about quick hacks and using cyberware, because I thought that was like, going to be awesome. I'm not a tanky melee guy. I use like light assault rifles to handguns, and a lot of like hacking people and like glitching their weapons and crippling their movement and turning off cameras and stuff like that. And I spec'd really heavily into crafting, because I thought, I'm not going to be crafting weapons, but I want like cool armor and clothing, and like I want my guy to look cool. And the crafting menu is so bad. It's so bad. And this is 20% of the skill tree.
Oh.
This is the engineering part of the skill tree. And like if it's there's 5 options and one of them is engineering, and you like go into it and it has 2 subcategories, crafting and like I think it's actually called like engineering or whatever. And so I can craft legendary weapons, legendary like all kinds of stuff. And you can't see, like, if I want to craft sniper rifle ammo, I can't see how much ammo I already have. I can't see like there's no sound when the crafting is complete. It's just you hold in left click on the craft button, a bar goes across, and your amount of crafting materials goes down. And that's it. No other numbers go up. I don't know how much ammo I already have. So you have to like exit the crafting screen, pull out a sniper rifle, read your ammo count, and then go back into the crafting screen to be like, okay, I have to craft like 10 more sniper rifle ammo crates. Like,
Shit.
what? Like, and there's so much space to like add this stuff. And it's like, a gamer didn't design this. Like a gamer would have been like, no, I need to know 3 things on this screen, and you added none of them. And that's the part I'm interacting with the most.
Right.
Like I want to play, but like you made it in such a way that like I can't play optimally at all. Like there's no way for me to get a good experience out of this. Like it's not a glitch, it's not this, it's not that, it's not the graphics. the soul of the game, the gameplay is just not there. And that kind of thing like extends to like 50 other things in the game. So like you can pick something in the game like, you know, the quest system or the mapping system or the fast travel system. Like you can tell a gamer did not design that part of the game. They were like, we have a city, how do we implement fast travel in a city? And like then they went forward. They didn't go, okay, gamers love fast traveling. This is how gamers love to fast travel. Let's build Night City around fast traveling. And that's what they should have done. But they were so worried about getting Night City correct. And I think they did. I mean, Night City is incredible. Like the way the highways connect to each other and the way the roads connect to each other and the way that people walk on the sidewalks and the way the cars wait for you to move and the way all the districts look different. Like they nailed Night City. But it's just the gameplay, man. Like playing it is just, oh, I wish it was fun and I wish it was functional.
So yeah, so that's the just watching streams. The sense that I've gotten is actually two things. One is, like you said, you can like point at any one thing in the game and find something, and you could probably do this with any game and find some flaw with it, but like something fundamental or something that should be there because we've learned a lot in game design. I say we, like I'm a game developer or whatever, but like,
yeah, and we are.
In the last 10 years, gaming has come so far, but it looks like a lot of the systems that like should be in this game just aren't. Like things like the system with the cops when they chase you in car, like when you get a wanted level or whatever it is in this game, and the police just spawn behind you, or like you park your car in the middle of the street and the cars just start to back up behind you because they don't know to drive around you. That's something that's AI that has existed since GTA 3 in 1990 or whatever the year that came out. Like these are things that should be in the game, and either they were just completely glossed over or they didn't have enough time. I can't imagine that they didn't have enough time. Or like, this is the part that's, and I know I said we're not going to start to jump to places, and here I am, but like they knew, right? Like they knew all of this stuff was half baked. And if they didn't know, that's a completely separate problem. But then they're coming out here and delaying the game for April to November and then another month to December and saying, oh, it's going to run beautifully. 2 weeks ago, Adam, or whatever that guy's name is, one of the studio heads, was like, oh, this game runs surprisingly well on last gen hardware. Really? This is surprisingly well on last gen hardware? Crashes every 2 minutes? People without faces that should have faces?
It loads. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the thing to go back to your thing about the cops, like there's built-in lore and stuff that gives them a reason to have cops come down off of hovercrafts, and like it's in the trailer. Like Militech is a thing. Like it's a police thing, organization, and they ride these hovercrafts and they come down and they shoot people who are like breaking into cars. That's built into the lore. Just make that your police system. Make it Militech. Everyone would have loved it. Like, oh my god, I shot a citizen. Now these cops from AirPods are dropping in. And like you can see them drop in, so there's no reason for them to spawn behind you, and there's no reason for like you to get surprised, and you can see them coming and you can run away from them, and they can have an aggro radius. Like all of these things are like it took anyone playing the game 5 minutes to come up with a police system. 5 minutes. And it's like there's no way that they thought about any of this from a gameplay perspective. They were just like, we need cops to shoot people so that they don't just go on a rampage and kill citizens.
So I'm curious what the conversation would have been like if the last gen versions of the game came out and were okay. Like they were playable. I'm not saying there's like simulated ray tracing or whatever. Like, it's gonna look like it's gonna look. They've said that at this point, when they fix the game, if they ever fix the game, it's gonna look how it looks now. It's just gonna be playable. If that version of the game came out, I wonder what the conversation would have been. Because right now the conversation is all, you know, your business practices are shit. You haven't listened to anybody. Like you actively lied and misled consumers. Like, oh, that's where all the conversation is. We're not really talking about the game. Like, when I watch streamers play that make commentary, or when I read a lot of these articles that are coming out now on sites after the fact, it's all talking about the bugs and stuff. We're not really talking about the gameplay all that much. And like, from what I hear and what all of these reviews said, and I went and I read a few of them, they all say, you know, Night City is what you said, a fantastic environment. It's an amazing sandbox and world, but all of the other stuff's not there, or it's half baked, or it's like not what we thought it was going to be based on what CD has been showing us for the last 4 or 5 years. And like, I don't know that that's a 9. Like, this game critically is at a 9 on Metacritic. It's like an 80, 88 or 89 now, but almost everywhere gave it a 9. And are they giving it a 9 because it's from CD Projekt Red, or are they giving it a 9 because it's the game that it should be? Because based on what I'm reading of gameplay-wise and seeing gameplay-wise, there are systems in Watch Dogs that are more advanced than what we have in this game. And Watch Dogs got a 8 or something, but like, Watch Dogs should not be more advanced than this game based on how CD Projekt Red has been marketing it and how we've understood like all of the conversation around this game was going.
The part that really agitates me is that you cannot buy a second apartment.
Or even get a haircut, or like any of these things. Like, just simple cosmetic stuff. Customize your... Like, this is a game about customizing your character and looking cool. That's what Cyberpunk is. But you can't get a haircut.
The whole genre is like, you are different than anyone else, and there's nothing stopping you. You can, if you want robot eyes, if you want a cat tail, like, all of these corporations are catering to individuals who want you to express yourself in ways that are stupid and out of this world. That's the whole world in 2077. And you cannot get your hair cut. You cannot change your nail color. You cannot cosmetically change any equipment in the game. You cannot make red goggles into orange goggles. You can do that in Minecraft. You can change the color of your bed in Minecraft. You can't do it in Cyberpunk 2077. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I don't know if they're like, okay, so like our top 5 ideas for DLC. People are going to want houses. We're going to release 6 houses in a DLC, and the players can go buy them. And it's going to be a Cyberpunk Houses DLC, and it's going to be a Cyberpunk Clothing DLC, and, you know, whatever. But, like, this stuff was out in The Witcher 3, and I compare Cyberpunk 2077 to The Witcher 3 because The Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time. You could change your hair in The Witcher 3. You could change your facial hair in The Witcher 3. All of your... you had choices in clothing for like sets in The Witcher 3. This game, there's only common, uncommon, rare, and legendary items. There's no sets. There's no set bonuses. There's no like, you can add scopes and mods, but you know, I mean, there's very little item interaction, and that goes with like healing items. It goes with armor. It goes with cyberware. Like, basically everything is just a color, and the different color it has better stats, and that's all it is.
So let me ask one more question about your experience, and we're going back to the way you were speccing your character and stuff. For the longest time, this game has been marketed as an RPG. This is an RPG. This is not GTA. This is not a shooter. This is more akin to something like Fallout than it would be Call of Duty. Based on what I've seen, it doesn't look like the RPG stuff matters at all. From the choices you make in the game, I think I saw an article on Reddit today. Someone actually has already, I don't know how they've done this, but they've already marked out all of the text, all of the choices you can make through the entire game, and only 2% of the choices you make during the game actually impact the story in some way. And then on top of that, like you're speccing as like a hacker or a more of a stealth character. Do you ever use that, or are you just finding yourself blowing through missions, just blowing everybody away? Because I've seen people doing that in on Twitch that are, you know, spec'd as a hacker, spec'd as high in like stealth trees and stuff, and then they just, you know, like they get seen, and then it's, oh well, fuck, I guess I'm just going through the rest of this just as hard as I can.
Yeah, and most of that comes down to how you initiate the quest. So if you spec into like not a hacker, like a gunslinger, you're going to initiate every quest by shooting the first bad guy you see. If I have to get into this garage, I know that I'm going to go through the front door and I'm going to kill everyone on the way to the front door. Me, I can sneak around the back and turn off the camera and open the door and then kill the first guy I see. And then maybe I'll get out, maybe I'll get seen, and then I'll be in a gunfight. It really comes down to the same thing at the end of the day. I might have, like, personally, I might have some stronger abilities for hacking. I might have some more abilities for hacking. I can do hacking more often because, like, my cyber deck is better, so it, like, recovers, like, the stamina in your cyber deck. So, like, you can hack, like, in a row over and over again. But at the end of the day, I have a sniper rifle, an assault rifle, and a pistol and a shotgun. I should not have legendary shotgun. Like there's no way. Like there's no, like, Geralt makes sense. Like as a character, he makes sense. My guy is a ex-corpo hacker. Like, there's no way I should be carrying around a sniper rifle, like a power sniper rifle, and like a double barrel shotgun. It makes no sense. It just doesn't. But yeah, I mean, from a gameplay perspective, you know, and some quests are better than others, right? Some are like, go rescue this guy. Some have bonus objectives of like being in stealth and not being seen. So yes, hacking does make that part easier for me. But then again, like if your quest is, hey, go here and kill all these gang members because they're drug dealers, you know, maybe I'll get the drop on the first guy and I can like hack his weapon so his weapon doesn't shoot, so it makes the first encounter easier, but I have, you know, an issue, and you know, I technically have less health than like a body build would do, like a melee katana weapon sort of person would have. But you know, at the end of the day, it's like Fallout 4. Like everyone is going to equip the best thing they can afford, the best gun. They're going to use it. They're going to get a lot of headshots. They're going to try and do that. You know, and then they're hoping like maybe their skill checks will open a door that another skill check couldn't.
So let's move on into, you know what? We don't even need to look at sales. The game sold well. It's continuing to sell well. I'm more interested.
They recouped all their losses.
Yeah,
they
in
recouped
like
all
12
their development
hours.
costs. Yeah, it's fine. Everything on from here on out is profit. That's all you need to know. That's crazy.
It's so insane, especially with a game.
Development time.
Right, we're talking about a game that took 8 years to develop from announcement to being released, and in less than a day, they recouped everything.
And their insane marketing. Like, I've never seen a game marketed like this game before. Ever.
So, I guess at this point, let's transition into some of these ancillary issues about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. And we'll continue to just kind of go off on tangents as we go. let's first go to this article from Polygon talking a little bit more in depth about the last gen version. So this article comes from Patricia Hernandez over at Polygon.com, titled Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4 and Xbox One seems to have major problems. CD Projekt Red's highly anticipated open-world RPG Cyberpunk 2077 is now out and in the hands of the public, and players are logging in to find an extremely unoptimized experience on last-generation consoles. Clips showcasing glitches, frame rate issues, major pop-in, and more have started to go viral on social media, though it's unclear if these all... It's unclear if these all... I'm not having a stroke. That's actually written that way. It's unclear if these Cyberpunk 2077 players are trying the game with the day one patch. That was something else that was weird, is that they said you really needed the day one patch to play the game, and like it wouldn't let you download the day one patch, or it was unclear if the day one patch was installed, and then a second patch came out a couple days later, and it still didn't really fix anything. Anyway, Polygon watched a couple of dozen live streams showcasing base PlayStation 4 and Xbox One gameplay, along with the beefier versions, PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, and saw a number of crashes, choppy gameplay, freezes, strangely geometric NPCs, that's a good way to put it, and more. While some of what's most visible right now showcases fans who aren't playing with the day one patch, technical hiccups of some variety or other seem pervasive on all versions of the older consoles based on what we've seen on platforms like Twitch and YouTube. And then if you go through the article, you can see there's videos of crashes, videos of these pop-ins, and all mess of all kinds of other messes. Let's talk about marketing, or let's talk about reviews. Why do you think, we'll start with John. Why do you think, John, they did not give console codes to reviewers before the game came out?
They 100% knew. They knew that if they did that, it was not gonna review well.
So then
they were not gonna get their plethora of 9s across the board.
And then they have the balls, the cojones, to come out on, what was December 14th? Monday.
3 days ago, Monday.
Monday. The game came out Thursday. They come out Monday with their apology. Let me read just the part of this apology.
The weekend.
They took a long weekend, man.
That's a weekend.
First of
They're
all,
finally not on crunch. They got to see their families for the first time in 8 years.
Oh my God. First of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's
the thing that's bad.
That last sentence is such horseshit. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on Xbox One or Xbox One and PlayStation 4. We should have.
You know how I knew that things were not going well? Every time I've seen that card template of theirs with an update where it's the yellow and it's their update card. Whenever I saw one come out after the game released, I was like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
What happened? Because this has been the, hey, we're delaying the game again, or hey, we lied about not doing crunch, or hey, we did something wrong. Here's an apology card that we're sending to the internet. When I saw that come up after the release, I was just like, oh, this cannot be good.
I don't know what's worse. I don't know if it's worse if they just truly did not give a shit about the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions, and they seriously were just like, oh, we don't care about this. And now they're saying we should have paid more attention. Or if they knew that it was going to be a crap, they didn't say anything about it, and now they're saying, sorry. We're sorry. I'm so sorry.
What's the old phrase? Don't ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness.
This is probably the most extreme version of that.
Yeah.
Let me read one other sentence from this apology while we're on it that really just ground my gears. It was about... Here it is. Finally, we would always like everyone who buys our games to be satisfied with their purchase. We would appreciate it if you would give us a chance. I mean, I didn't because I haven't given you money yet, but everybody who bought the game already gave you the chance. They gave you $60. They gave you the chance.
You're a well-established studio. You're not an indie dev.
No.
What is this? Give us a chance.
And
you came out with Witcher 3.
And that's not to say that The Witcher 3 was this beautiful work of art when it came out. It was definitely in a better shape than Cyberpunk is, for sure. But yeah. CD Projekt took a while. I don't know exactly how long it was, but several patches before The Witcher 3 became what it is now. You look back at what they've done historically, and they're like the first Witcher game, that game was a cluster when it came out. So much so that they had to do the enhanced edition as a free upgrade for everybody because the bugs were so bad in the game when it came out. Like CD Projekt
Red, still not great.
Right, yeah. They have a history of releasing games that are not where they should be. This example,
I feel like everyone forgets that roach used to spawn on top of roofs. Like that was like, and it was so frequent. It was like the meme. It was like I took an arrow to the knee of The Witcher 3. Like roach was the meme of The Witcher 3, and it's like way better now. Like roach is perfect. He's the best horse in any game. But yeah, like that was a thing for a very long time.
So I don't want to take away from like that. Again, it would be one thing. It would be one thing if the game came out and it ran on last gen consoles and it's running on PC and there's an occasional crash or an occasional pop in of texture or something like that. But that's not
an
all
average game.
Right. That's not what we're dealing with here. We'd appreciate it if you took a chance on us, says the multi-billion-dollar corporation.
I just want to know, like, have they not, after the release of every game that they've made, did they just fire everybody and start a completely new team with the same name? Like, how have they not learned these lessons over the last however many games they've released, period? Like, you should progressively have less issues and better launches as you release more games as a company. At least that's my thought process. How is it that that's not happening?
I think the Cyberpunk team and the Witcher team are two different teams.
But why don't you have the Witcher team, like, maybe help out a little bit? Maybe critique it?
There should be some, like, institutional knowledge there. There should be knowledge that transcend. And it should... Okay. I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole because I think we're going to come back to it. But I think this is the root of the evil, the root of all evil that, John, we have been talking about for months now, is that the studio heads, these people that are in charge, don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. To say that the game's coming out in April and then delay it to November and then be like, oh wait, no, we need one more month. Oh wait, the game came out and now it's just a total cluster. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea.
And when they delayed it to December, some of the game devs who were coding the game didn't know it was going to get delayed. Like they came out and said, like, they just like kind of released the tweet like, oh yeah, by the way, like from their office, they like tweeted it out and like sent the picture away. And like some of the employees were like, oh, we didn't even know.
Yeah, right. Oh, I thought this was coming out like in a week. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh, I have another month? Okay, thank God.
There's just some...
It runs bad now.
Right. There's just something lacking at the top here. From this apology is signed, and they're all Swedish. What Sweden? Poland. They're all Polish names. I don't know how to pronounce most of these, but it's signed Marcin Nowinski, Adam Kaczynski, Adam Badowski, Michael Nowarski, or Noah Kowalski or whatever. These people are the ones that don't know what they're doing. And
haven't played a video game in 10 years.
Go ahead.
If they recouped their just money after how long was it?
8 years of development?
No, but I mean, like, when did they?
It was within a
hit
day.
that mark?
Within a day.
If they did that within a day, they can afford to hire somebody whose only job is to talk to all the people and explain to all the people what the other people are saying from all the departments. They can have somebody who goes and talks to like the coding team and then translates what the coding team is saying to the administration team that talks to the like stockholders or whatever. If it takes 1 day for them to recoup 8 years of development, they can add on. It would take another 5 minutes to get that paycheck.
We have that at our office.
I don't.
And we have an office of like 30 people.
I don't
And
get it.
that's the thing that we do.
I don't.
Like
I
the
really don't get
the
it.
coders don't talk to like the people who are like requesting the things that are coming through. We have an intermediary. Like we have a list of things that we do, and everything's in order.
They don't have that for whatever
They
reason.
don't have it.
No. It seems like no gaming developer studio seems to have that, but especially CD Projekt Red.
Well, and this is what they need, and this is what every game developer is lacking is a proper QA department, because there's no way that someone played this on a PS4. There's no way someone played it on a PC and said, I don't see any bugs. Like, you can play the intro sequence to the corpo route and you can see where there are issues. Like, and I got there an hour into my playthrough. And I'm like, okay, this is happening. This shouldn't be happening. This is wrong. This is wrong. Like, this should be there. This should be there. And like, there's no way that someone QA'd the intro.
So that's interesting when you talk about QA. I'm wondering now, who is CD Projekt Red answering to? Because I have 2 examples here that I'm going to share that it seems like the people they normally would be answering to don't care or didn't care. On the one hand, we have investors. So there's I might get to this article in a little bit, but there was an investors call, I think Sunday night, where several...
After they made back all their money, a bunch of investors had an emergency phone call with CD Projekt Red leadership and asked them a bunch of questions. Some of the questions that were on that call were like, well, could you have delayed the game? What?
The investor's like, well, could you delay the game? Who is making the decision? Like, CD Projekt Red is the developer. I think they're the publisher too. They are the entity. They have control over the entire project. The only people that would have been pressuring them to get the game out would have been their investors. But their investors are like, well, why didn't you delay the game? Like, who are they answering to? Because it's not their investors. Either their investors don't care, or their investors are just like, total, they were lied to or something. On the other side of this, you have Microsoft and you have Sony. Those 2 in particular. I don't know how much vetting Steam does, but you have Microsoft and Sony who have a certification process all games have to go through. On this investors call, someone asked a question about that, and they responded something along the lines of, Microsoft and Sony trusted us to... They trusted in that day 1 patch fixing everything. They said this flat out, this is on us. This is on this is on us. Like, this is our problem. They trust us and we didn't get it done. So like, they weren't answering to Sony or Microsoft. They weren't answering to their investors. Who are they answering to? They control their own destiny. They could have done anything. They could have delayed the game another 1.5 years and it wouldn't have mattered to anybody, it seems like. So that's like, I don't think they have a reason to vet themselves or a reason to have good communication, because no one's asking about it. Like, now people are. Now it's a big issue, and now they're going to be forced to do something about it. But before this, there was just no accountability anywhere.
And they're not a struggling company either.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is there's no like deadline. They're going to be totally fine. Like, Gwent is making them enough money.
GOG makes them enough money.
GOG, like, Jesus, like, they're fine. They're fine. They could have delayed this game another 2 years and would have been running just fine.
Do you think on their next major patch they'll they'll just take out all the real names in the QA team in the credits and put in fake names to be like, oh,
It's Geralt 1,
I
Geralt
mean,
2, Geralt
maybe
3, Geralt
it
4.
could all be fake names right now based on what we're hearing.
It should just be the community. It should just be players.
Yeah, right. Thank you to the many Steam players who QA'd the game for us. Just kidding. This was
Reddit.
early access. Here you go. Here's the day one patch.
The one thing I'll never understand is how do you have these indie developers that are anywhere from the size of like, I don't know, 15 people down to one. You have one person making a Stardew Valley. How do you have that game come out?
You want to know why?
Nowhere near this amount of issue. Is it just because it's these indie developers, it's a passion project, and for CD Projekt Red it's a cash cow?
No, I think I've solved that. I think it's investors, because all of those indie games have investors. They have people that have put forward money. I mean, some on the occasional, like the truly one-man studio, you might not, but some
Concerned Ape.
Sure.
Looking at you.
They all have investors, and the investors who are betting on a 3-man indie studio are going to be asking questions.
Yeah. They're going to be held accountable.
I don't think that, I really don't think, I think that with the success of The Witcher 3 especially, everyone just like wrote a free pass for them, which was clearly not what they needed.
I know I did.
And you would think like they said everything right from The Witcher 3. It's like, okay, The Witcher 3 came out in the heat of the DLC and microtransaction hellscape of gaming, where everyone was like, if you have microtransactions, if you have pay to win in your game, if you have all this stuff, you're public enemy number one. The Witcher 3 comes out. They were very clear on their update strategy on, look, these are when the patches are coming to fix. Roach is no longer going to be on the roof. He's going to be on the ground where you can actually, get on him. It'll be fine. Also, we're giving you all this extra free content. Also, we're going to have DLC, but they're going to be really big DLCs that, you're paying for something that is well worth what you're going to be getting out of it. They did everything right. And then on the back burner, they also have this really cool game that they announced 3 years ago or whatever. And like everyone's now hyped about this because they did such a great job with The Witcher 3. And then everyone's just like, well, you know what? They know what they're doing. They're the good guy. They're the good guy. Like we're over here, we're fighting EA, we're fighting Ubisoft, we're fighting whoever it is. But no, CD Projekt Red, they know. And they do know.
They made a game out of the in-game game of The Witcher. They made Gwent out of Witcher into a superstar card game.
Yeah, and that's why I go back and forth, where it's just like,
there's no side game in Cyberpunk 2077.
Not one. Not even I mean,
not even
even in Yakuza, there's like 50,000 side games. I could go play an arcade game. I could play this stupid business thing. I could go play Mario Kart. There's a kart racing game in Yakuza. There's all this stupid crap in a game that's made by I think less than 200 member team at Sega. But CD Projekt Red, that has literally all the money in the world and a history of doing the right thing, couldn't implement it in this game that everybody's been looking forward to for almost a decade. I don't know about that.
Hard. Car racing is part of a side quest, and there's 4 races.
Nice.
Ooh, 4 races. That is one. That is one cup in Mario Kart.
Nice.
What? All you had to do was take Gwent, make the same game, change the cards to something cool in Cyberpunk, make it this Yu-Gi-Oh thing where you do the wrist thing and you put cards in and
the dual disc?
The dual
How dare
disc?
you forget the name?
Oh my god, I'm sorry, Kaiba. I'm sorry. Make a Blue Eyes White Dragon and merge them to take Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's the thing. They could have just, with the amount of money that they have, they could have just bought Yu-Gi-Oh and put it into the game.
I would not be here. I'd be playing Cyberpunk Yu-Gi-Oh. That would be the coolest damn thing in the entire world. Where is it? Nothing. There's nothing for me to do in Cyberpunk besides side quests and the main quest line. There's nothing. And when that trailer came out, that was like, oh, there's a fucking roller coaster and scuba diving. No, scuba diving is part of a quest, and that's basically on rails. Like where are all the things? I can't buy a house. I can't upgrade my apartment. I can't customize it. I can't buy a new bed. Stardew Valley, you can buy upgrades to your house and place them wherever you want. Like, where is it? There's nothing. It's a cool city, but it's soulless. It's so empty.
Right. And
it's so empty.
It would be one thing if we were sitting here and being like, oh, you know, like this other game had this. Why can't you have that? But that's not what we're doing. Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red promised all of this stuff already. They said this was going to be in the game, and it's not, at least not to the extent that they made it abundantly clear that it was going to be. So it's not like we're sitting here and being like, oh man, why doesn't this game have this feature from GTA or this feature from Skyrim or this feature from this other game? They said it was going to be in there, and it's just not. Or it's not fleshed out.
And the things that we're talking about exist in past games that they made.
Yeah.
Like there's brawls in taverns, and every city has a tavern, and you can go like buy drinks, and every town has a blacksmith, and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not there.
So one other thing I want to point out about this apology, the gall that they had to essentially sick, angry fanboys on Microsoft and Sony.
That's my favorite part about it. It's hey, you mad? Go ask Sony for a refund.
I'm not excusing Sony's refund policy, which is shitty. I'm not saying that's a great refund policy. It's really bad. I wish that Sony would change that. However, for CD Projekt Red to come out and say, if you are not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system on PSN or Xbox respectively. For boxed versions, first please try to get a refund at the store where you bought it. Should this not be possible, please contact us at helpmerefund@cdprojectred.com. So they put out this statement. Obviously, people start to try and go get refunds from Sony and Microsoft. I think Microsoft's return policy is a little bit better than PlayStation's. PlayStation is essentially saying, no, we're not doing that. Why would we do that? This is our policy. This has always been our policy.
Here's our return policy. Does not exist. 404.
But players know that that's their refund policy. Like this is what you get when you buy a digital game on PSN. You understand that once you download it, you cannot return it. Just because CD Projekt Red, and I saw this all over the place on Reddit, people posting their comment threads that they had with the chat in the PSN, like they were talking to an agent saying, well, CD Projekt Red said I could get a refund. Is CD Projekt Red paying Sony's bills? Is CD Projekt Red is sitting on the board of directors for Sony? I don't think so. They don't get to say what Sony does and doesn't refund. And like they are knowingly sicking people who are angry with them back on Sony. And then they put up this help me refund at CD Projekt Red email address. You know that is just a complete shit show right now in that email. Because not only do you have, some people who are requesting refunds, I would guess not as many as we probably might think. Like, I'm sure a ton of people just have the game and are like, well, this sucks, but this is what I have, I guess. Like, the amount of people that actually go through the trouble to actually refund something is going to be a lot smaller than the people that have actual issues with it. But you also know that this is the internet and this is the year 2020, and there just have to be so many trolls. So many people emailing that email address.
How many dicks are in that email?
I don't know.
A ton.
How many bots that are buying PS5s and Xbox Series X's are now sending emails to CD Projekt Red?
I mean, it's like going to Target, buying a Samsung TV, smashing it and lighting it on fire, taking it back to Target and saying, Samsung told me that I can return this within 30 days. Target's going to be like,
no,
what are you talking about? You destroyed it. And it's like, no, Samsung told me it's okay. I read it. They told me to take it back to the store. That's exactly what it is. And like you're forcing these other companies to basically be like, well, if we don't like do this, you're not going to release your next game on the PS5. Like that's kind of what they're doing.
I want to know if there is anything else. Like if Sony and Microsoft have said anything back to CD Projekt Red. Like, are you
like internally, like
Yeah,
privately?
right?
Like they
Like,
sent them a DM on Discord, and they were like, "Yo, what are you doing? We had to make our own email teams now because of you're just shit show. What is this?"
and I love
Help
that.
me refund at sony.com.
I love that. I love that they made the and the investor call is probably always public, but like the fact that they admitted that Sony and Microsoft trusted them. They put their trust in them to release the game with the day one patch and for it to run well. And then they just go and stab them in the back with this and be like, well, this is your problem now.
Hey, these idiots trusted us. Ask them for a refund.
It's amazing. The one good thing, I guess you could call it a good thing. Once again, how did this pass certification? Just there was an issue with epileptic seizures being triggered by certain scenes in the game, and they were able to go in and patch that pretty quickly within a couple of days. So
Good.
One good thing to come out of that.
I'm glad that they didn't put people like in the hospital.
Although again,
that's good.
Again, why was that not like caught like in certification? I feel like that's something that we haven't dealt with games since the 90s when games first started having to put that this might trigger seizures in you kind of deal up.
Can we make a so there's the Game Awards, which has recently put in the category of accessibility in games. Can there be like an anti-game awards that is just the exact opposite?
It's the Razzies of the Game Awards, the least accessible game.
The worst game of the year, the worst indie studio of the year, Little House or Little Adventure on the Prairie will take that for whatever year that came out. Worst esports player, whoever's just the most toxic. Like, can we have that game show award?
And so you guys haven't played. So you guys haven't played this part, and I don't know if you've seen it. The scene where you can get your seizure if you want.
If you want,
if you want it, you can just go do it. It's totally unnecessary. This is the thing that kind of was weird. Is that first of all, you can like really see it coming. Like it's the thing. Like it's on your eyes and it shines bright lights. And but it's like totally unnecessary. There's no reason for you to like have the bright lights. There's no reason for like that to be first person. You could have totally have like skipped that part. Like just put on the goggles, change the scene, like, and let's go forward. Like there's no reason for this to like be part of the experience. And it was just weird to include. I'm not sure, like, and I don't know if like you guys really like that part of gaming where like your whole monitor goes white and like you have like insane lens flare in like a cutscene or whatever. Like that stuff's annoying to me anyway. Like you can leave that out.
Right.
So there's no reason for you to like shine huge white lights right in front of my eyes. Like I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's an argument if it's like immersion, if it's a VR game or something, you probably really don't want an epileptic, like that kind of thing happening in a VR game. But like, if there's a narrative reason for it, maybe. But if it's just like this totally unnecessary thing that is going to trigger something, if it's so obvious, absolutely that should not be in here. Again, kudos to them for fixing it so quickly, but again, how does something like that pass QA?
I don't think they have a QA.
Their QA department is the high school gym teacher that was like, we're just going to play dodgeball today.
I don't really feel like teaching science class today, so here's an episode of Bill Nye.
Hey, we're gonna turn on this movie. I don't know what it is. Just watch it. This is English class. Why are we watching this?
Listen, you're gonna watch the Dead Poet Society. That's an English movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, kids, go watch the Porygon episode of Pokemon and see if any of you are epileptic.
Man. What is this one? I put so many stories in here I don't. Oh, yeah.
There's just so much shit that
Yeah.
you can't even keep it straight.
This document's 18 pages long.
This is a much longer show doc than it normally is. I'll tell you that. Which is crazy because we're talking about one game.
One game that's been out for a week.
So I think we've covered all of the like negative thing. Is there anything else outstanding from like any issues that you have that we haven't addressed yet, or any other comments you have about the game as it is, or the development cycle, or anything like that?
I want to touch on the one thing that I really have an issue with is the sex and nudity part of the game. So I'm not sure if you want to like come back to that or
No, let's go there.
now.
Yeah, let's go there now. So
Okay.
I have seen a sex scene, and actually I just pulled up the article that I was like, what is this article? Oh yeah, there's a distracting number of dildos in the game, so they're gonna nerf the dildos.
So that's the thing. Well, part of the thing. So they like kind of went there, but didn't go there at all. And I feel like a big part of the, like we were talking about earlier, the Cyberpunk 2077, or just the Cyberpunk thing in general, is all about, you know, latex and spandex and sex appeal and customizing yourself to be sexy and, you know, just like kind of just sexuality gone wild. And that's appealing to a lot of people, but there's also parts of the lore in Cyberpunk that really go into that. And it's really an important part of Cyberpunk as a whole. And they didn't go there at all. And they kind of made it like if a 12-year-old was going to go into the cyberpunk genre, what he would do. And he's like, penises are funny. So we're going to put like penis graffiti and neon penises up on the board. But like the strippers in the strip club can't be naked. And like, oh, but there's going to be like dildos on your way that you can like, that would like the NPCs are going to like buy them and like they're for sale, but like you can't interact with them, but you can like see them and it's like funny. But like you just in the game, you just like walk past them and you're like, oh, okay, dildos in the strip club. I get it. Right. And then you're like, you see dancers and they're like fully clothed and they're like barely dancing sexy. Like, I dance sexier in my own shower than these strippers do. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Come on, man.
There's
like,
cognitive dissonance there. It's it's immersion breaking.
It really is. And there's a lack of sex options. There's way more options in The Witcher 3 than there are in Cyberpunk. In Cyberpunk, you should be able to order a joy. They call them joy toys. You should be able to order a joy toy from your phone in an alley in any part of Night City immediately, and they should drop in from an airship. I mean, that's the essence of Night City, and especially in some districts. Like some people live for that kind of thing, and that's how they make their money, and that's how they, you know, it's part of society, and it's part of Night City, and it's just completely gone. That whole part of the lore of Cyberpunk is just not explored at all. And there are no brain dances that you can do. There should be brain dance movies, and there should be, People you can call, and there should be people on the street. There's one guy and one girl in one little shopping mall that you can go up and talk to and kind of like initiate a sex scene with them. And that's your experience with Joy Toys. That's it. And I feel like I honestly, like, I feel like a 12-year-old was in charge of this, and he's like, and he was like, sex toys are great. You can use some of them as melee weapons, and that's funny. But like, there's no, it doesn't go the extra mile that it should have. And I feel like that was a really important part of just the cyberpunk genre that just wasn't explored.
Sure. And this is something that I didn't necessarily want to touch on from my point of view, just because I wasn't familiar enough with it, where I'm going to go, not where you were talking. But I think it was a maybe 9 months ago or so. It was probably almost a year ago at this point. There were promotional images that they put out, it was a poster that existed in the game world where it was, a trans person on a poster that was very clearly a trans person, because they made it very obvious. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
And at the time they tried to like say, well, this is like, we're treating this with respect. Like this makes sense in this world. You're going to understand that this makes sense. But from what I've understood so far, and from what I've seen in the game, they don't make that connection. I can't remember who I saw tweet this, but they said like, a year ago when we saw some of this stuff, I had trust in CD Projekt Red that they were going to make the connection so that it wasn't just a joke. But it's not. They're just being essentially problematic about it. Like, they're not going the steps they need to rectify this and make it believable and make it like make sense. They're just using it because it's funny, because it's a phallic object, and because it's a penis. Like, they're not actually taking that to the step they need to make it, I don't want to say respected, but you know what I'm trying to get at, where it's like, this makes sense in this world kind of thing.
Yeah. And if you do, I believe, like, honestly, if you go that extra mile and make it believable, that makes it respectful. And if you go halfway, if you give me the option to play as female V with a male voice and a vagina, that's not respectful. Like, if you don't keep going with it, that's just a weird custom character creator. And like, no one cares about a penis size selector in your custom character selector. Like, that's not like, haha, funny, like, cool, let's move on. Like, you're not giving me the option to like change it or go explore it or anything like that. Like, it's soulless, it's half baked, just like everything else.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember the exact tweet, but it was something along the lines of, I trusted CD Projekt Red to be mature about this, and they were not mature about it. They were immature about all of this. It was all just locker room, like 14-year-old, haha, this is funny because I'm a 14-year-old and I have hormones that I have to deal with, kind of thing. So yeah, that's disappointing. What the hell was I going to go to next? Oh, wait. I blanked out. I lost track of stuff. What the hell?
The Joy Toys will do that to you. You gotta watch out for them.
Shoot. Gonna take this little note down here and cut this out of the audio podcast as I think about what this topic I wanted to cover was. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so we've talked about what's wrong with the game, what the experience has been, what the game is now. CeeCee, what would they have to do realistically? Like, if you were CD Projekt Red, how do you go about fixing this? Like, what is your step-by-step process? How do you go through and turn this ship around? Like, what is the next step?
Bugs and all that kind of stuff aside, right? Like obviously you got to fix the part where like, NPCs are T-posing to get their script back online. You have to add customization to everything in the game. So you can purchase a car, you can purchase a bike. You get a choice of 15 cars and bikes, but you can't change them. You can't change the tires. Can't change the horn. Why not? I can literally change my cyber deck and add stuff to my legs. I should be able to go into the wasteland of Night City and find a mechanic that is a car mechanic and change my car. Got to be able to change my apartment. Got to be able to change the way I look. Got to be able to immerse myself around the cool parts of what makes cyberpunk to be able to give myself the ability to enjoy the game more. Couple UI changes, like the stuff I was talking about with the crafting. Like once you realize a gamer is playing your game and he's not playing a game, he's playing a walking simulator from question mark to question mark. You kind of have to go revisit that. The shooting is great. The hacking is fun. They could have made it a little different. Currently, you kind of just push a button to bring up like this little UI, kind of like a Witcher sense. If you've played The Witcher 3, you kind of enter like hacking mode and you kind of highlight something, and then you just pick from a menu, and if you have enough RAM in your cyber deck, then you can initiate that sort of hack. I feel like that should be a little more interactive. That should have like a back and forth, or maybe I need to, just some sort of hacking thing would have been more interesting than just selecting from a menu after scanning a piece of technology. I mean, and honestly, other than that, I would have an absolute blast. I would stay in the game more if I could make it a more personal experience. The difference between Cyberpunk and The Witcher is that in The Witcher you were playing as Geralt. You were playing as a established character. Geralt had 2 games up to The Witcher 3 and a bunch of novels and a bunch of characters around him, and he had a story around him already, and they allowed you to shape the journey of Geralt to get to the end, but you didn't really change who Geralt was. And they're kind of doing that with V here now. You're starting, like, whether you're a nomad, a street kid, or a corpo doesn't really matter. You get a couple different dialogue options. I would have loved to have seen, like, if you started as a corpo, you should have started with more money. You should have started with the ability to drive a nice car, and that car should have given you some sort of bonus. You should have had some sort of character trait, some sort of starting tree, maybe.
So other than
Like
other than that first like introductory mission or whatever, does your starting class or whatever, does that do anything stat wise?
Stat wise, no. Stat wise, no. So you'll be the same character stat wise if you started as either of the 3. So basically, what your starting class does, starting like your origin story, is you have like maybe a 1 to 2 hour sort of intro sequence, and basically just how you get into Night City and like how your relationship with Jackie is in the beginning. And then you're basically just ready to go after that. Like you become the same person. In some sort of dialogue things, you may have the ability to, like if you're talking to someone from a corporation like Arasaka or Militech or something, You may have like an extra dialogue thing that may give you some more information about something. But it really doesn't go the extra mile and is like, this is a completely new way to solve this quest because you're a corpo. Like in Fallout New Vegas, if you were a smart person in Fallout New Vegas, you didn't even have to really shoot anybody. You could go and like repair the machine yourself and just leave. That sort of option doesn't really exist in Cyberpunk.
And that just goes back to like, how can these be the same people that did The Witcher 2? Where there's a decision in The Witcher 2 that if you make that, the back half of that game is completely different.
It's insanely different. It's not even, it's a completely different like game altogether.
Right.
And you have no chance of going back either. Like you commit to that choice that you make in the middle of The Witcher 2. Yeah, I don't understand. Like it's definitely possible. The foundation, I believe, is there, and the foundation is the cyberpunk genre and the city that they built. If they totally trashed the UI and brought in a brand new UI, no one would care. Like, I wouldn't care. Do it. Make the game better. You know what I mean? Like, take all the good parts, throw out all the bad, and let's go. Like, make it an early access game. Who gives a
Right.
crap at this point? Like, let's go.
What could they do at this point to further trash what they've already done? Like, honestly, if they did say, okay, you know what, this was a bad launch, we understand that this was bad, we need to refund all of the console players that bought the game, or at least those ones that are asking. This game is now considered in early access. We're going to be working on this thing for the next however long. The ports to the PS5 and Xbox One, those versions are now on an indefinite hold. We're not touching those. We're committing all of our resources to fixing what we have here. And then we'll move on to the PS5, Xbox Series X versions. We'll move on to the DLCs that they've already talked about, the multiplayer that's going to be like here 5 years down the road at this point. Like, they need to just hard stop everything. And they need to come out and they need to say that they're hard stopping everything. Like, they need to be completely transparent with what their timeline is going forward, because we have never known what their timeline is. It's always been nebulous. It's always been, okay, we get a release date, that's a delay, then another delay, and now this has happened. We need to know when they're planning to implement certain features, what those features are going to do, and like the status of what they're going to be doing next. Because at this point, that's the only way they can get any of that trust and goodwill back from the player base, because that is all gone. They need to be completely transparent going through from here on out. And I don't know that that's going to happen. At this point, they told us essentially that, you know, they're pushing out, I think, one more patch before Christmas. I think it's supposed to go live Monday, I think is what they said. And then there's going to be a big patch in January, a big patch in February, and hopefully by then, the last gen console versions will be playable. So that's what they've said so far. But then, what about the Xbox Series X and PS5 versions? I personally expected those to be like a spring-ish kind of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if that's like late next fall, maybe even 2022, depending on how long it takes for them to fix some of this stuff. But like what you're saying, all of those major changes, they haven't talked about any of that at all. Like, just little things they need to implement. All of it right now is cleanup. All of it right now is bug fixes. And we know that that's going to go through at least February of next year. So it's going to be probably, if you think February is the last patch that gets the last gen consoles out the door, then you're talking about, okay, the game is running. We need to make the especially the PC players that have been playing it happy with this game. So do we prioritize that then? Or do we prioritize our DLCs and our multiplayer and the next gen patches? They need to figure all that out, and they need to be very upfront with how they're going to go about doing it. Because if they just say, we'll have more information next month, or, if we have, well, you'll know the next thing whenever it's ready, that's not going to do enough to gain back my trust, let alone everybody else that is much more invested in them than I am.
Yeah, if you think about a good example of this, I would point to what Blizzard did with Diablo 3. So when Diablo 3 first came out, and for the first year or so when it was out, people had so many complaints, and Blizzard basically said, with their expansion, we're redoing the entire item system. We're giving you in the end game that you wanted. We're doing this, this, and this, and this, and this, and it's a completely different game. And it was such a big expansion that it basically made the main story obsolete. And it changed the way people played Diablo 3. And it was so good and so well received that no one talks about Diablo pre 3.0 patch or Loot 2.0 or whatever they called it. It was so good and it was so well received. I honestly believe that changes and updates like that can happen to these sort of games, and it'll make them be remembered 10 years from now as a fantastic game.
Yeah, it's I might have to do some research on this because there are definitely examples of it. Diablo is one, Final Fantasy 14 is one with the Realm Reborn. No Man's Sky is one of these now. There are examples of studios that have taken the game that they released and completely changed it for the better. I just think that there are way more that have tried to do that and just have completely fallen. Like, Anthem's been out for almost 2 years at this point. That came out in March of 2019. So we are 2 years from Anthem. Nothing
Destiny
about
2.
that. Destiny 2. Like, there are a bunch of games that have not, developers have the best of intentions to go in and fix a lot of this stuff, but they just either, the next project comes up and they say, you know what, this is it. We're moving on. And BioWare has now queued up both Dragon Age and Mass Effect. Are they really working on Anthem anymore? I doubt it. Like, I feel like there are a lot more examples of games that haven't been able to. Now, Cyberpunk with CD Projekt Red being the studio that it is, or at least the studio that we all thought it was, you would think that they would be one of these studios that could do that. It's just how much are they going to commit to it at the end of the day? And I think that's the answer that hopefully we'll find out in the next couple of months, that it's going to be a positive thing. But they truly need to, from a company standpoint, take a look at what they're doing and their philosophy and their, just their culture in general. Like, for the past year, we've all been lambasting them about their, and I can maybe not the last year because the fact that they were doing crunch only popped up maybe 4 or 5 months ago. But like, when that happened, they were the studio that said, we're not going to crunch. We're not going to crunch on this. This is not going to happen. Okay, actually, we are going to crunch. Okay, actually, we've had employees that have been crunching for years now on this game. There's just nothing that there's no confidence in me left in them. And for them to move forward and be one of the leading publishers and developers in the industry, they need to start with a plan, and they need to be very vocal about that plan and have it all be laid bare for everybody to see, because that's the only way that I can see them gaining back the goodwill that they had. Because, okay, for you, CeeCee, you've played all the Witcher games. For Witcher 4 coming out 2026. How let's say they fix Cyberpunk to the fact that it's running very well. They've implemented some changes. Maybe they haven't completely redone everything, and it's not everything that you wanted it to be, but it's a stable game that's running, and it's definitely better than it is at launch. Say they do all that. What is your take going to be going into Witcher 4?
It probably will be dependent on how the rest of the video game world is at that point. Because to me, CD Projekt Red was the last bastion of AAA developers that I had a really, really good faith in. Blizzard over the past year has they were one of them, and that's gone. And EA is going to be EA, and BioWare is going to be BioWare and release a crap game and a hidden gem every 5 games that they do. You know what I mean? CD Projekt Red was that one developer that every game they released, I played it and it was awesome and I loved it. And man, I wish I will have 5 other developers in 5 years that I'll have faith in. I just don't know what the scene is going to look like in 2025. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Lot can change.
Yeah, but if there's one company out there right now that can turn this around, it's CDPR. Like, they have a track record of doing it. This game isn't awful. Like,
it scored 9. I mean, it's at a 90 on the PC version.
Not awful.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not garbage. There's, like, Johnny Silverhand is Johnny Silverhand. Like, the dude is awesome. Like, well, he's an ass, but he's a great character. And there are other very well-written characters in here. And the story is intriguing if you're into that sort of thing. Like, if you're into, consciousness on biochips and what that can do in the future. Like, there's technology in here that can be possible in our lifetime. Like, this sort of stuff is interesting. And there is a lot of stuff
that far off. That's 57 years. Almost 56.
Yeah, and a lot of it, like, cyberware is already here. So, like, there's a lot of stuff that's, like, going on in this game that they can expand on and make just amazing. And like I said, Night City is already the best city ever. Like, it was Midgar in the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like, that was the best city.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That was the best. And now it's Night City. And, but Midgar is, like, right there. Like, if CDPR, like, goes, like, down one more notch, Midgar's going to take it back again. And so, like, this is not a lost cause. This is not, you're talking about an amazing developer with a good track record that has laid the foundation on something that could be the next Skyrim, like, for real. And once mods start coming out for Cyberpunk, it's gonna change everything. Like, mods to The Witcher 3 made that game from a 10 out of 10 to a bajillion out of 10. Like, mods took The Witcher 3 into, like, just astronomical, insane territory. And that's kind of what mods did with Skyrim. Skyrim was a great game that had some bugs and stuff, and then, the community got a hold of it and turned Skyrim into just what we know Skyrim is today. So I think Cyberpunk's going to be okay. I think CDPR is going to be okay. I think The Witcher 4 is going to be just as hype as Cyberpunk 2077 is, because I honestly, I think they're going to turn around and everything's going to be fine.
Any closing thoughts, John?
I want to go up to the person in charge and just ask them straight out and get an honest answer. What did they do for the past 8 years? If we've known about this game for 8 years, and maybe I'm wrong, but does it feel like a game that has had 8 years of development? Because I don't think that's the case. It feels like a rushed game that was announced a year and a half ago. and then they delayed it a couple months, maybe a full year, and they were like, okay, we're getting close to year 3 of after saying it would come out in a year and a half, we're gonna double our release time. What we got to come out, we just got to release this now. This does not feel like something that has been in the works for 8 years, and I just want to know why.
It feels like they took 2 years to make Johnny Silverhand.
They brought Keanu in. He just like they gave him full reign to
They
do
changed
the
the whole
entire
thing.
creator.
Cyberpunk was going to be a completely different game. Keanu Reeves, his contract came in. It got delayed in the mail. It was lost for 5 years. He finally sent it back. He signed on to this project. And they were like, well, shit. Scrap everything we've done. We got Keanu.
Honestly, like it kind of, and you know, the story revolves around you and Johnny Silverhand, and
Who could have been anybody.
Who could have been anybody. And you know, at the end of the day, he's just someone in your head. He's just GLaDOS from Portal. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he's just Wheatley from Portal 2. Like, we've had these characters before who talk to you and tell you to do stuff that you shouldn't do, and you do it anyway. And
he's a handsome Jack in Tales from the Borderlands.
yeah,
He's all these characters that we've seen. That is not a unique idea.
yeah.
But were any of those characters Keanu Reeves, John?
No, they weren't.
Gotcha.
No, not one of them. Were they a, you know, and the thing is, like, you know, he's a foul-mouthed rock star, and he wants to, like, they tried to make him take center stage in the game. And I believe that a lot of the development around Cyberpunk revolved around the character of Johnny Silverhand. I really do.
So it boils down to they built the perfect city, and they wanted to base the game story-wise around a celebrity who might have not signed on that long ago, and tried to make everything else work. You know, the gameplay and the core mechanics and, you know, the things that make video games interactive and engaging and what makes them games in general.
Well, and you can see this. There's evidence for this with the skill tree from the work in progress 48-minute trailer that they came out with. The skill tree is completely different. The character customization is completely different. They had an idea of the 3 origins, but they clearly didn't have gameplay in mind. They took away the ability to run on walls. They took away the ability to, you know, look through walls with sniper rifles and things like that. So they had Night City built with the Johnny Silverhand story, and then added the gameplay to it, and you can tell.
How many? A real quick question for the both of you. Based on that, how many times do you think they have maybe not entirely scrapped, but essentially restarted on this game? Like at least some mild reset. Maybe not from the ground up, but been like, hey, you know, all that work that we did for the past 2 years, chuck it in the trash. New direction.
Well, okay, so prior to The Witcher 3, CD Projekt was regarded, but they weren't what they are now, or they weren't what they were 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
So if they announced this in 2012, I have to imagine that was, you know, heavily in pre-production. Maybe there's just there was some culture in European developers where they announce things as they're working on them. But, you know, I think pre-production probably started in 2012. The Witcher 3 came out in 2015, 2016.
Sounds right.
At that point, they wouldn't have had 2 teams. At that point, they would have been, I think, just CD Projekt Red.
Yes.
And so for most of that time, they may have had, you know, a couple of people, maybe a team of 10 or less that were in pre-production on Cyberpunk, but everybody was head down in The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 comes out. The Witcher 3 has bugs. They have to scramble and do some of that. They also have a team doing DLC. So I really don't think that they really entered full-on production on 2077 until 2016 at the earliest.
So half of the development time was basically just,
I would
hey,
have
we
to
have this
imagine.
concept for a game, but we didn't really do any work.
Well, I don't really know what that means, but sure. Yeah.
But it's world building, it's script writing, it's
Sure.
Quest building, it's tree, logic trees and all that kind of stuff, and it's this is how the game's gonna go theoretically from beginning to end, and by the time all that stuff is done, got 2-3 years to get it done.
Right. But then when Witcher 3 does come out and has the success that it does,
and the money
that it brings in, and then I distinctly remember E3 2015. So The Witcher would have came out before that, maybe 2014 or 2015. Cyberpunk made a reappearance at E3. It was either E3 or actually I think it was Gamescom. It was Gamescom 2015. There was a new trailer or gameplay or something for Cyberpunk. At that point, not only do you have CD Projekt Red that is this superhero developer now, but then you also have this product that I don't think as many people were aware of that are now super interested in it, not only because it looks cool, but because it's from this developer that we all love. And then maybe these group of 6 dudes that are on this apology letter were like, oh, maybe we need to relook at this. And at that point, I could totally see a reset button, a hard reset button. At that point, they're like, okay, you know what? We have all this money. What do? We need to get you. We need a person. We need a face for this game. Who do we get? Who's in the zeitgeist right now? Keanu Reeves.
Always all right. In the zeitgeist.
Getting Keanu. Let's get this game going. We're going to, tailor everything to him. This is going to be, something completely different than what we've been pre-producing for the past 5 years. I could totally see that. If they did a hard reset, they've obviously kept the feel of the game. They probably kept a lot of the assets and maybe some of the story direction too, but I would not be shocked if in 2016 they were like, okay, you know what? Because of the success that we've had here, we need to reevaluate, and this is now a much, much bigger project than what we thought it was going to be when we started this.
And the size of Night City is absolutely incredible. Like, the Witcher 3, like, we can go back to that, or like the map of Fallout 4. There are sections of those games where it's just like woods or like a really big ass bridge that goes on for like 5 minutes. In Night City, there's no such thing. Like, yeah, there's sections where like it's all highway because like there's just a big trash heap or whatever. But like in all of the like populated districts, it's packed. Like, Night City is incredible. And, like, you don't ride Roach for 5 minutes through some woods and there's like trees and bushes and maybe some ghouls to your right. In Night City, if you ride your motorcycle for 5 minutes, you're going to see 50 different things going on and roads that go off and different kind of buildings and shops and all kinds of stuff. So like, it cannot be understated how incredible Night City is. So for them to completely start over, there's got to be some sort of foundation in there that started with Night City, and that has to be the origin. That's the only thing I can honestly think of is they went city first.
That's the one thing that they kept from maybe that original idea that they had and then had to cut after 2015.
And you can kind of see it because in The Witcher 3, if you like take your map and you like zoom out of it, there's like different districts. There's like, you can go to like Nilfgaard, or you can go to the Skellige Islands, and they kind of built that in Night City also. So I'm wondering if in like some earlier version of Cyberpunk, if you didn't drive through Night City, if it was district out, and you kind of fast traveled to like specific districts, and they were all like its own little encapsulated world, like encapsulated city. And then they were like, no, screw that, we're gonna we're gonna make one giant big ass city. Like, it would have been really cool if like the Badlands was like Skellige Island, and like you had to like fast travel there and like go there, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But no, you can legitimately just take a highway right out to the Badlands from wherever you are in Night City. It's all connected, and there's no loading screens. Like, it's crazy. They did a great job on it. But
On the PC
you
version.
know, on the PC, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and not even really on the PC version. Like,
Right.
I have ray tracing off, and my
PC version, if
anti-alias.
you have like the graphics card that nobody can buy because the bots buy them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excellent.
Any other final thoughts?
I'm good.
I am still, this conversation was very largely negative.
Sure.
But as CeeCee said, there is still
There's room for improvement.
the core of this game is, I would say, probably great. Even
Yeah.
like when the
Yep.
game runs well, take out your expectations and what you thought the game was going to be. If you had none of that going into it, you probably think this is a 9 out of 10 game, maybe a 10 out of 10 game, maybe your game of the year this year. Like, there is something great here. And if they're able to pull it out of the bug-infested cellar dungeon that it's in right now on the last-gen consoles and put out a PS5 and Xbox Series X version that runs well and adjust some of these stupid little UI things that, this isn't how games work now. The games have evolved over the last 10 years, CD Projekt Red. You should probably change your UI to reflect that. I think that this game is a 9 out of 10. It's just all of the backhandedness, like the dirty dealing that they've done in the last couple of weeks with hiding review scores and with the bugs that are out there now. That's the part that's like the most disheartening thing, because the game here, like the foundation of the game, is great. So I am still very interested in playing it. I'm probably going to get it on PC over winter break, and play it there. I think I'd be fine playing it on PS5 with the PS4 backwards compatible version. The thing though is that, like, everything that I've read about people playing that version is that the dumbed down effects, especially things like crowd density, that's going to be an immersion breaker for me, because the reason I want to play this game is because of what you were talking about with the city, with the immersion, with the environment, and with the storytelling that takes place just by existing in that place. That's the part that's intriguing to me. The setting is I live for I have the purple and blue. I love the cyberpunk idea. I love that that style, and like that, all of that speaks to me. But the thing that I'm excited about is
the aesthetic of Night City is
exactly
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be in that city and feel immersed, and I don't think that I'm going to have that experience on the PS4 version, because everything's going to be turned down to 0 essentially with all of the graphical stuff.
Hey Josh,
What's
real
up?
quick. I just got a Twitter notification about 10 minutes ago. In quotes, Sony removes Cyberpunk 2077 from PlayStation Store and
Holy
offers refunds to customers.
Shit.
You can't even buy it?
Allegedly.
Breaking news.
10 minutes ago from Twitter.com. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but you might not be able to play it on your PS5.
I'm gonna go to Reddit, because there it is. PS5 subreddit. Okay, let's read this. Okay, Cyberpunk 2077 refunds. This is from PlayStation's Europe and Australia site. I'm sure it's probably on their US. Well, maybe not, actually. That's an important note, because sometimes...
Yeah, they have different laws and regulations.
Yeah. So let me go to the US site.
But with how public this thing is, I would imagine that if 2 versions of Sony are going to do it, the rest would probably follow suit.
You would think.
Hopefully.
John coming in with the breaking news.
Maybe PlayStation blog. There's nothing on the PlayStation website. There's nothing on the PlayStation
Yet.
blog. I guess let me read this article on the Australian thing right now. So SIE strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store. SIE will also be removing Cyberpunk 2077 from PlayStation Store until further notice. Once we have confirmed that you purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via PlayStation Store, we will begin processing your refund.
So, are those investors having another emergency call?
Okay, wait a minute. Let me think about what this means, though. So they are offering... Okay, wait. They will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 and removing it from the PlayStation Store. There is also a link on this website that you have to sign into to submit your request, which means they're not completely deleting the game, because that's how I read it at first, that they're just going to give everybody a refund and take the game away from everybody. That's how I read it at first, but that's not seemingly what it's going to be. So you have to request a refund. They're going to refund you, and you can no longer buy it. You're probably not going to be able to download it. So if you have the game on your PlayStation 5 and you're watching this Twitch stream or listening to the podcast probably tomorrow at the latest, you should probably download that and make sure that you have it on your hard drive, because you're not going to be able to download it here in a couple hours. That is insane. I'm sure that is not something that Sony did out of the goodness of their hearts. I'm sure that they worked with CD Projekt Red to get all that money back.
Has something like that ever happened before?
Not at this level.
Where Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo blanket
you
offered
you can take
refunds.
Nintendo right out of there, my friend.
But
someone responded, "Wow, Xbox finally got an exclusive."
but like a game that was on a store digitally is taken off, and everyone else who has purchased it blanketly offered refunds. Has that ever happened before?
The only thing that is even remotely like this that I can remember is PT. And when the PT demo went up and Kojima is working on a Silent Hills game, and this is the trailer for that, and it's playable, and everybody was in love with it. It was free, but then Kojima gets the can, Konami cancels PT, and then they take PT off the PlayStation Store, and now you can't even download it if you didn't have it. And now you can buy a PlayStation 4 with PT on it for thousands of dollars, theoretically.
It's the Angry Bird syndrome, or not Angry Bird, Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird, yeah.
Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird, I guess, would be another one. That's a much smaller scale than this. I can't think of a single time where a AAA game like this. I'm guessing that there has probably been...
and that was the developer pulled his own game.
Right.
Yeah,
Flappy Bird.
He was upset that he was too successful.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to read the articles on Polygon and Kotaku and GamesIndustry.biz on this tomorrow, because I'm sure that they're going to ask the question, "Hey Sony, did you just do this because this is a clusterfuck, or did you work with CD Projekt Red on this? Like, what's going on?" I'm curious to see if Sony's going to respond. But that's insane. So
do you know who's been quiet throughout this whole thing? Google Stadia.
Yeah.
Not one word from Google Stadia.
And apparently,
I could have bought Cyberpunk and gotten the hardware to play Google Stadia games for free.
From what I understand, the Stadia version is one of the best versions to play.
Wow.
From what I've heard. Like, if you're going to play the game, the Stadia is probably honestly the best place to play it.
Yep.
Stadia has game. One game.
That's insane.
Because if Xbox follows suit and pulls it off their store, go play it on Stadia.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Okay, well, if I'm going to buy it, it's going to be on PC now. We'll see what happens.
There you go.
Or you could try to squeeze in right now.
Just
buy it real quick, download it before it gets stricken down.
All right.
I think if you are listening to this and are on the fence, I would say this is an open world game worth buying. don't be scared because of all the glitches. Like, most of them are funny. None of them really break quests and things like that. If you like open world games, this is definitely like, one that you should experience.
And we'll hopefully get better from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I'm confident they'll be able to fix the issues. The thing I'm not confident in is them getting their mojo back when it comes to goodwill and their
Sure.
image.
PR.
I think their image is kind of dead.
They gotta
Yeah.
they gotta do a No Man's Sky. They gotta fully support this thing for years.
And I think it takes more than, like, they need to make a gesture. Like, okay, DLC is going to be free. It wasn't
Yep.
going to be free, but it's free now. Like, something on that scale.
And
Okay.
they're not averse to doing that because they did it with The Witcher 3.
True.
We'll see.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 124 of the Quick Time Event Podcast. If you like what you heard, you can find this podcast live on all of your favorite podcast services in just a few hours once I get it uploaded. You can also find it live on twitch.tv/CDR Magnus every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. CeeCee, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/CeeCee23.
There you go. Nice and
There
easy.
you go.
CC is what? S or CEE? CEE?
Thank you for spelling it. Yes.
Just in case people type in
CEE.
the letter C, the letter C23,
Or C,
Yes.
like the site C.
or C like the ocean.
Lots of C's.
Okay. All right. Maybe I need to rebrand myself. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and redo that.
I am on Twitter
That's
at Josh Clasen. John is on Twitter at John Kamiko. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back. John and I will be back. We didn't decide yet. What did you decide?
Oh shit. What was it? Sunday?
Yeah. Is that good?
Is that gonna work for you?
Okay.
Yeah,
Sunday,
Sunday works.
episode 3 of our Persona 4 full play series will be on Sunday at 8 p.m. Then QuickTime event next week will be on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. So normally on Thursday, next week on Tuesday. Anything else for the good of the order before we wrap this up?
Not for me.
I just want to say thank you for having me. That was a blast, man. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks for
Good
being here.
times.
Thanks
And
for giving
go
us.
watch the Persona playthrough. It's incredible. It's a
We have
great
to get
game.
more of the voice acting in. We got to get
Yeah,
better voices.
Yeah,
We're-
John's
we're working
John's
on it.
needs to work on his accents, but yeah,
No.
he's doing it.
No, we're just watch it.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. It was our pleasure. Have a good rest of the week, a great start to the weekend, and we will see you all next time.
Good night.